it's so nice to see you guys. All right, let's jump in. So, I'm going to be talking today about um, our own happiness being dependent on ourselves and not other people. So, what inspired this talk is that I was talking to a mom and she's telling me all about everything going on in her life, which was a lot. Um, and she said, if only my partner would see me, then I could rest, then I could be happy. And when I hear anybody say, if only someone else would do this thing, then I'd be happy, I know that there's a disconnect because we are responsible for our own emotions, we are responsible for our own boundaries, our own mental health, and other people are not. And we can't control other people. So, what I'm going to be talking about today is breaking down this idea, and we can't control other people. I'm going to be touching on what would happen if that person on your list did do the thing, and is there another way to get that, and then some examples, of course. So, that's what we're doing today. So, if you say to yourself, if so and so would do this thing, then I would be happy. That is a lie. That is not true. You may feel that way. Emotions are always valid, they are not fact, but it's not true. And how many times has this happened to you? You tell yourself, once this happens, it's going to be great. I heard someone describe this once, and they were like, I just know if I get crown molding in my living room, it's going to be great. Everything's going to be great. And in this instance, it wasn't a person, it was like the crown molding. They got the crown molding, and guess what? Nothing was great. And I've heard people say, oh, I am going to move, and that's going to make it great. And guess what comes with you when you move? You. So if you're not happy with you, then taking you to another place is not going to make you happy. Now, sometimes you need a break, and sometimes rest and rejuvenation is great, and it's going to make you happy. Hi. But, like, generally, you follow wherever you go. You can't get away from yourself. So, let's step back and recognize that when we have a thought that sounds like, if only someone else would do X, then I'll be happy, let's start noticing when you hear that in your mind. Think, I am believing a lie right now. And start the work of uncovering the truth. So, you cannot control other people. That is a fact of life. And we are almost made to believe that we can, because it's like, especially as moms, like, moms keep everything running, and mom does this and mom does that, and like, we do a lot of persuading, we do a lot of like manipulating to get through life, to like function in this patriarchal society that we live in. But in reality, we can't really control other people. And I talked about this, I don't remember when I talked about it, but I talked about it at some point in relation to our kids. Like, we can't control their behavior, we can't control the outcome. We can set up an environment for them, and we can work on ourselves to make sure that we have the best chance of responding well to them, but like, we can't really control what they do. And it's the same way with like your partner. You can't control your partner. You can communicate, you can explain clear boundaries, you can go off the handle and activate their own insecurities, and you can start fights. Like, we can do those things, but ultimately we can't really control people and make them do exactly what we want to do. So if you can't control other people, but you're saying to yourself, if only they would do this, then I'd be happy, then you are putting your happiness in their hands. You are giving away that control. So why are you waiting on them? if you can't control someone, but you keep expecting them to behave in a certain way so that you can be happy, you are waiting on them for your own happiness. And that's a lot of power to give to someone. I don't want other people to be able to control whether or not I'm happy. I want to control that. And briefly, happiness. We can only really expect to be happy about half the time. Like, happiness is not really the goal. The goal is like peace, balance, security. So when I say happy, it's like the difference between like misery and like general happiness, right? Being able to experience joy and love and having a good connection with the people around us. So, again, just for emphasis, if you can't control someone, but you keep waiting on them to do a behavior before you're happy, then you are giving them control over your happiness. It's simple as that. So, that's an excellent realization to have. So, when you realize that, the next thing I want you to do is if the person on your list did exactly what you wanted, what would that do for you? What is the payout? And when I say payout, I clearly don't mean money. I mean, it could be. I guess if you're like, if my boss gave me a raise, that would make me happy. And then you can put a number to it. But if you're saying, if my partner would see what I do and appreciate me, then I would feel happy. Well, what would it really, literally get you if that happened? Would it be that you wouldn't have to communicate as frequently? Would that be that they would be able to anticipate your needs? You would have to think about it less. You would have less of a mental load to carry. What is the payout if the person on your list does exactly what you want them to? What does that get you? And don't just say, I'd be happy, like, because that's fairy tale world, and we live in the real world. Why would that make you happy? What is the real life benefit? So, a real life example, if my partner, as an example, if my partner recognized that I have a need for more sleep, then maybe they would prioritize my sleep and they would do mornings with the kids. And I would get to sleep in more. And then I would be better rested. And then I would be like a good mom. And I wouldn't get so angry all the time. And all of these things. And now we're getting somewhere, right? Now we're getting somewhere. Because in that situation, this leads us to the next thing. Is there another way to get at the same thing? But before I jump into there, when we do this exploration, there's curiosity here, right? So we're using curiosity, not just I'd be happy. Why would that make you happy? What's the real life benefit? Does that spark a greater need in your life? Like the example I just gave, if he recognized my need for sleep. Well, the greater need is that I'm tired, I'm sleepy, and I said, well, if I weren't so sleepy, I wouldn't be angry with my kids. Well, like, maybe I'm not feeling connected with my kids. Maybe I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. I don't deserve rest. I need someone else to tell me that I deserve it. Am I just trying to control things because the unknown is really freaking scary? Like, humans react really poorly when we don't know what's going on and it's uncertain. And if anything, the pandemic showed us that big time. So we have to recognize what's going on under all of these layers to get at the real payout. Then we jump into, is there another way to get at the same thing? Do you really need the other person to do that to get what you want? So, in the example I gave earlier, if my partner would only recognize my need for sleep, I could sleep in and get more rest, and then I wouldn't be so angry with my kids. There's a lot there, right? A lot. But instead of giving that power to my partner and saying, I'm just going to be an angry mom until my partner discovers that, which is essentially what we're saying if we rely on them. And that's not what we're going to do. We're not going to do that. So, what can we do? How can you get that payout through a different way if you take them out of it? Okay, so your theory is if you get more sleep, basically, is your theory. If you get more sleep, then you will be more rested and you'll be able to connect more with your kids. So, why do you need to sleep in? Are you sleeping in because you're staying up late? Is that like your body's happy place where it's like you need to sleep from midnight to 8 or whatever, and your kids get up at 6, and that doesn't work for your body because 6 hours of sleep is not enough. So then you figure out, like, what are things that I can do? Because especially if in this scenario, the person talking has a partner, and a lot of my examples come from people with partners because I have a partner. But newsflash, there's single moms out there, and not every single mom is like exhausted and stressed constantly. And a lot of single moms are, and they don't have the support and the built-in support of having a partner. And there's also moms with partners who basically don't have support. And so it's easy to hear these things and think to yourself, well, that doesn't apply to me because my situation is different. Like, it can apply. So take what is good in this and figure out how you can apply it in your life. And if you need help with that, I'm here for you. I've got you. We can talk about that. But for now, how do you get what you really need or want? And how can you remove the requirement that someone else acts in the way that you want them to? So that's the big thing. So another example that I hear all the time is if my partner would recognize my need for alone time, then I would have alone time and I would be good. So I'm going to tell you right now, your partner does not need to recognize your need for alone time. Your mother-in-law does not need to recognize your need for alone time. The mom on the Facebook group does not need to recognize your need for alone time. No one except for you needs to recognize it. Your mother-in-law and the mom on the Facebook group, people that don't live in your household, they don't even need to respect it. If you have a partner who is available to offer support to you, then they don't need to recognize it, but you need to communicate it and they need to respect it. So if you don't communicate your need to your partner, they're not going to know, they can't read your mind, and they're not going to respect it because you've set the tone. So let me give you, this is a really tough one because I want to emphasize that oftentimes moms, this is particularly true in heterosexual couples, but if you have a male partner and you say to them, I need some time to myself, it's almost automatic that they push back. They're like, oh, really? You sure? And let's see, are they being just jerks? No, I don't believe they are just being jerks. But you have to understand the generation that we're living in and where we are in the patriarchy, the whole construct of everything. Like, my mom, if you go to her house, like, she has a broken foot right now, and so she had a broken foot, she had surgery, so she's like on crutches. She's supposed to be sitting in a chair resting, and we all go over to her house, and she like is on her crutches holding the door open with one hand and onto her crutches with the other hand. Can I get you something to drink? Like, sit down. What are you doing? And so many moms of like our generation's moms, they didn't take time for themselves. And they made it through, they did things, they have a different way, but I need time for myself. And so I know that my partner's mother didn't take time for herself. I mean, she did tell the kids to be out of the house for 8 hours a day in the summer, but she didn't take time for herself. So we have to understand that our partner doesn't recognize our need because they're not us, they're not in our body. And it doesn't really matter what their mom did or what their sister in laws do. It doesn't matter because if you need it, you need it. So there's an element of realism here. And then you might also have a partner that's like, oh, well, I want alone time too. It's like, great. How can we do something so that we both get what we need? And I talk about alone time a lot because it's just one that I hear a lot. But it applies to anything. If there's something that you need, you can't rely on other people to get it because the patriarchy is relying on the unpaid labor of mothers to do everything. And it is relying on us keeping everything running, doing all the things. And so when we say, I'm not going to do all the things, I need some time, like systems are in place to push back on that. And we have messaging from the world that makes us even push back on that. Oh, do I really do that? I'm not sure. Like, if you say to yourself, well, I could go for a hair appointment or I could go for a doctor's appointment, but I can't just go for no reason. Like, stop that. It's not no reason. You're a very good reason. You're an amazing reason. So, um, yeah, that pretty much brings it full circle. So, you can't control other people, so don't let other people control you. Figure out what is the payout and the underlying need here, and how can you get that without controlling someone else's behavior. So, if you want to talk more about that, let me know. I am all for talking to you guys. All right. Thanks. Have a good week. Bye.